That night, I walked alone around campus for almost 2 hours. No headphones, no music, just walking. I needed my mind to go quiet. Maya's words kept echoing. You've never once looked at Keegan the way someone looks at just a student. I hated to admit it, but she was right. I remembered always unconsciously searching for Keegan in a crowd. Remembered saving the machine he liked at the gym. Remembered buying an extra carton of chocolate milk every time I went to the store, even though Keegan never asked. Remembered that every morning, the first thing I did wasn't check my lesson plan. It was checking whether he'd walked into the gym yet. That wasn't a coach's responsibility anymore. That was waiting. And waiting only shows up once your heart has already started leaning toward someone. I stopped by Drumheller Lake in the middle of campus. The water was still. Light from the library rippled across the surface in long streaks. I looked at my own reflection, then laughed quietly. Damn it! I really do like Keegan. Saying it out loud made everything terrifyingly clear. I wasn't panicking because I liked a guy. What scared me was, what if Keegan didn't feel the same way? I'd lose him. Not just lose someone I liked. I'd lose my closest friend from these college years. The next morning, I tried to act normal. At least I thought I did. Shoulders straight. Even pace. Don't lock the joint. The usual cues came out fine. But I avoided holding Keegan's eyes for more than a couple of seconds. Maybe out of fear. Fear that he'd read something in my expression. After about 40 minutes of training, Keegan set the barbell down. Tate. You're avoiding me. I startled. No. Yes. No. Yes. I'm just a little tired. Keegan stepped closer. Look at me. I lifted my head reluctantly. Those gray-blue eyes were staring straight at me. Calm. Patient. Like always. There. You're fine. So what's going on? I forced a smile. Nothing. Keegan sighed. Tate. I'm not good at reading people. But I know one thing. You've got something on your mind. If you ever want to talk about it, I'll listen. Then he turned back to his set. I just stood there. Such a simple sentence. And yet it softened something in my chest. Friday afternoon, Keegan texted me. Keegan. Free tonight? Me, yeah. Keegan. Let's go watch the school game. Me? Just the two of us? Keegan, yep. Keegan? Or are you busy? I answered almost instantly. Me not busy. Honestly, no matter how busy I was, if Keegan was the one asking, I'd find a way to go. The stadium was packed with students. Cheering echoed through the stands. The smell of popcorn, grilled hot dogs, and hot coffee mixed into the cold autumn night air. Keegan handed me a cup of hot chocolate. For you. I thought you didn't like sweets. I don't. But you do. I took it. A strange feeling crept into my chest. It seemed Keegan had started remembering little things about me too. Through most of the first half, we barely watched the game. Keegan kept commenting on the stadium's architecture. I pointed out the players' running form. Eventually, we both laughed. We're such nerds. I think so too. At halftime, the Jumbotron started showing couples in the crowd. Cheers rose up. Kiss cam. Couples appeared one after another. Some kissed. Some blushed. Some ducked out of frame entirely. I was laughing when Keegan nudged my shoulder. Lucky us. Why? We're out of view. I laughed too. Yeah. Otherwise people might get the wrong idea. The moment the words left his mouth, we both went quiet. I didn't know what Keegan was thinking. As for me, for the first time in my life, I imagined what it would be like if one day the person sitting next to me on that screen was Keegan. The thought was sweet and painful at the same time, because I had no idea if it would ever actually happen. The game ended fairly late. Walking back to the parking lot, it suddenly started raining. Hard. We ran under a row of trees. Where's your car? South side. And yours? North side. Keegan laughed. Great. We're going to get soaked. I pulled a folding umbrella out of my backpack. Lucky we've got this. Keegan looked at the umbrella, then at me. You really do prepare for everything. Professional habit. The umbrella wasn't big. Two guys over 6 feet tall standing side by side barely fit under it. Our shoulders kept brushing. Our arms too. Each time I tried to pretend I didn't notice. But my heart was racing. Halfway there, a strong gust of wind hit. The umbrella flipped inside out. "Oh no!" Before I could react, Keegan burst out laughing. For the first time since I'd known him. Not a small chuckle. Not a faint smile. Full-on, doubled-over laughter. You really are bad luck." I started laughing too. We stood in the middle of the rain, soaked through. Not caring about the umbrella anymore. Not caring how we looked to passers-by. Only knowing it was one of the happiest moments of my 20s. As the laughter faded, Keegan looked at me. His hair was soaked. Rain ran down his cheeks. "Tate. Thank you." "Thanking me again?" "Yeah." "For what?" "For showing up in my life." I froze. My heart skipped a beat. But right before I could say anything, Keegan's phone rang. He looked at the screen. The smile on his lips disappeared instantly. It was a call from California, and I had a feeling, whatever this news was, it would change everything between us. Keegan stared at his phone screen for a long time. Kept ringing. The glow from the screen lit up his face in the rain. I recognized the name right away. Dad. Keegan let out a quiet breath. "Answer it," I said. "It's fine." He nodded, then stepped out from under the broken umbrella to take the call in the rain. I wasn't trying to listen, but we were only a few feet apart, and Keegan's voice kept rising. "I already told you I haven't decided." "No. I don't want to come back just because you want me to." "You've never once asked what I want." I had never heard Keegan speak to anyone like that. No calm, no cold detachment, just frustration held in for far too long. The call ended with a short line. "Good night, Dad." But the way Keegan pressed the button to hang up looked more like he was trying to end an argument that had been going on for years. He stood still, head down. Rainwater and the water in his hair dripped onto the pavement drop by drop. I walked closer. "You okay?" Keegan smiled. A forced smile. "I hate this feeling." "What feeling?" "No matter how hard I try." In his eyes, I'm still not enough. I didn't know how to respond. Some wounds can't be fixed with advice. I just stepped closer and gently put a hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to prove your worth to everyone." Keegan looked up. "Maybe not, but I still want him to be proud of me." His voice was so quiet it nearly blended into the rain. I understood, because I'd also once tried hard to get my father's approval. The only difference was my father always said, "You did great." But Keegan, it seemed like he'd never once heard that. I drove Keegan home. It was the first time I'd ever been inside where he lived. A small apartment about a 10-minute drive from campus. Everything was startlingly neat. Books arranged by height. Shoes lined up in a row. A desk covered in drawings and architectural models. No family photos. No decorations. Just a few small cactus pots by the window. "Make yourself some tea," Keegan said while grabbing a towel for his hair. "I'm going to change." I nodded. As he went into the bedroom, I accidentally noticed a picture frame lying face down on the bookshelf. I hadn't meant to pry, but when I set my teacup on the table, the frame tipped slightly. The photo came into view. A boy about 10 years old, smiling brightly, standing between his mother and father. I recognized him immediately. It was Keegan. The smile in that photo was completely different from the Keegan I knew now. Carefree, radiant, no guard up at all. "That's me as a kid." Keegan's voice came from behind. I flinched and turned around. "Sorry. I wasn't trying to look." "It's fine." He walked over and picked up the frame. "Mom took it on my 10th birthday. That was the last time. The whole family took a photo together." Keegan brushed a hand gently across the glass. 3 months later, my parents got divorced. The air went still. I didn't know what to say. I just quietly sat down in a chair. Keegan sat across from me too. After a long moment, he suddenly asked, "Tate, have you ever felt like No matter how hard you try, you're still not good enough? I smiled faintly. Yeah. Freshman year. I got injured. Couldn't train. Couldn't compete. I thought my worth had just disappeared. Keegan listened closely. Then my mom said something to me. What did she say? You're not valuable because you're the strongest. You're valuable because you're you. Keegan lowered his head. The corners of his eyes reddened. I wish I'd heard something like that too. I didn't think it through. I just acted on instinct. I reached my hand forward and took hold of Keegan's hand. His hand was cold, but he didn't pull away. I'm not your dad, but if you need to hear it, I'll say it. Keegan looked at me. I think you're a really capable person, a really kind person, someone who makes the people around him want to be better. You're enough. You're really, truly enough. The space around us seemed to stop. Keegan didn't say anything. He just looked down at our hands, still holding on. Then, very slowly, he squeezed gently, just a little, enough for me to feel it. It wasn't the grip of a student toward a coach. It wasn't the grip between two ordinary friends either. There was something gentler in it, something deeper. Right at that moment, my phone suddenly buzzed. It was Chloe. I was about to silence it, but the screen lit up right as Keegan glanced over. Chloe calling. He quietly let go of my hand. Answer it. It's fine. I looked at Keegan, then at the phone. For some reason, I felt like whatever I decided in the next few seconds could change the direction of our relationship forever. The phone kept buzzing. The screen lit up in pulses in the quiet apartment. Chloe calling. I looked at the screen, then at Keegan. He'd already pulled his hand back, picking up his teacup as if that moment had never happened. But I remembered it clearly. The feeling of his hand gently squeezing mine. Warm, hesitant, and sincere. Tate. Keegan spoke softly. Aren't you going to answer? I hit decline. I'll call back later. Keegan looked a little surprised. It might be important. If it's important, she'll text. I set the phone face down on the table. Right now. I'm here with you. Keegan looked at me for a long moment. There was no longer that guardedness from the early days in his eyes. Only a gentleness he'd never shown anyone else in front of me. Thank you. I didn't want to be alone tonight. I know. We sat talking until almost 11. No more talk about training. No more talk about school. Just talk about life. For the first time, I learned Keegan loved the ocean. As a kid, every summer his mom used to take him down to Santa Cruz Beach. The two of them built sandcastles, ate vanilla ice cream, then sat and watched the sunset. Since Mom moved to Arizona, I haven't gone back. Why not? Keegan smiled sadly. Scared. Scared of what? Scared everything would still be the same. Except the person I used to go with wouldn't be there. I understood that feeling. Some places are beautiful because of the scenery, but some places are beautiful only because of who used to be there with you. Then it was my turn to share. I used to hate swimming. Really? Yeah. When I was 8, my dad signed me up for swim lessons. First day, I jumped into the pool and sank. Keegan laughed. Seriously, I swallowed half the pool. The lifeguard had to pull me out. I cried, wanted to quit. What happened then? Dad said, if you give up today, you'll be afraid of water your whole life. I went back. 3 years later, I was swimming for the school team. Keegan rested his chin on his hand, watching me. Your dad sounds great. Yeah. He always knew how to make me believe in myself. Keegan went quiet, then smiled. I'm jealous. By the time I was getting ready to leave, it was almost midnight. I'll walk you down, Keegan said, grabbing his jacket. No need. Yes. Your car's far. We went down to the ground floor together. The rain had stopped. The air after the rain felt unusually clean. At my car, I opened the door and turned around. Sleep well. You too. Neither of us moved. Something made it hard for either of us to want the night to end. Finally, Keegan smiled. Tate. Can I hug you? I froze. Sure. Keegan stepped forward and hugged me. Not a polite, formal hug. Not the kind of pat-on-the-back hug between friends. It was a very tight hug, as if he were finally finding somewhere to rest after too many exhausting days. I hugged him back. In those few short seconds, I could hear my own heartbeat clearly, so fast I thought Keegan might hear it too. Bye. Bye. Keegan let go, but as I drove away, he stayed standing in front of the building, until my car disappeared from view. The next day was Saturday. No classes. No training schedule. Around 10 in the morning, my phone buzzed. It was Chloe. You didn't pick up last night. Sorry about that. Did something happen? Yeah. Are you free? An hour later, we met at a coffee shop near campus. Chloe looked at me very seriously. Tate, I'm going to ask you straight. Okay. You like Keegan, don't you? The cup in my hand froze mid-air. Why do you ask? Because it's obvious. I forced a laugh. That obvious? Very obvious. The way you look at him. The way you say his name. The way you smile every time your phone buzzes. I looked down. Maybe I wasn't as good at hiding it as I thought. Yeah, I like him. Saying it out loud, I felt much lighter. Chloe smiled. I knew it. Should I give up? Why would you give up? Because I don't know what he thinks. Chloe stirred her coffee. I don't know if Keegan's into guys. But I know one thing. What's that? I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. I looked up. What do you mean? At the architecture department exhibit. Remember, I walked by. Keegan was talking to a professor. But the moment you walked in, he smiled instantly. The kind of smile I'd never seen before. My heart pounded. I think maybe you're not the only one falling. I hadn't even gotten a chance to respond. The phone in my pocket buzzed. It was Keegan. I smiled and picked up. Hey! On the other end, Keegan's voice sounded urgent. Tate, where are you? At a coffee shop. What's wrong? Keegan was quiet for 2 seconds, then spoke quickly. Can you come to the hospital? My mom. She was just admitted. In that moment, every thought about love vanished. I had only one thought left. Keegan needed me, and I would be there, no matter what. I shot up so fast the chair behind me toppled onto the coffee shop floor. Which hospital is your mom at? University Medical Center. Okay. I'm on my way. I hung up. Chloe stood up immediately too. What happened? Keegan's mom was admitted to the hospital. I have to go. Tate. I turned back. Chloe smiled gently. Go. He needs you. I only managed a nod before running out of the shop. From the coffee shop to the hospital was about a 15-minute drive. But that day, the distance felt unbearably long. Red lights, buses, horns, everything made me restless. I kept thinking about Keegan. He was normally so strong. If he called me sounding like that, something serious had to be going on. When I ran into the hospital lobby, Keegan was standing outside the ER. Hair a mess, jacket thrown on in a hurry, hands clenched tightly together. I'd never seen him this shaken before. Keegan. He turned around. The moment he saw me, the tension in his shoulders seemed to drop. You're here. I'm here. I walked over. What happened? Keegan took a deep breath. Mom flew in from Arizona to visit me. This morning. She was having breakfast and passed out. The doctor suspects exhaustion. I didn't know what to do. It was the first time I'd ever heard Keegan say, I didn't know what to do. Someone who was always in control, always calm, and yet right now he looked like a lost kid. I put a hand on his shoulder. You don't have to do this alone. I'm here. Keegan didn't say anything, just nodded slightly. About 40 minutes later, a doctor came out. Family of Laura Brooks? Keegan stepped forward immediately. I'm her son. The doctor smiled. Try not to worry too much. She had a serious drop in blood pressure combined with exhaustion. She's stable now. She'll need more rest. I saw Keegan close his eyes, let out a breath, as if his entire body had finally relaxed. Thank you, doctor. 10 minutes later, we were allowed into the room. Keegan's mother lay in the bed, still pale but awake. She smiled when she saw her son. You had me so worried. Keegan sat down beside the bed. That should be my line. Laura laughed. Sorry. I stood back, not wanting to intrude on the two of them. Suddenly, she looked over at me. And this is... Keegan turned around. This is Tate. A friend of mine. He said the word friend so naturally. But for some reason, something in my chest sank a little. Of course, we were friends. What more was I expecting? Tate. Laura smiled warmly. Thank you for coming. I was just... happened to be nearby. I lied. Truthfully, even if I'd been an hour's drive away that day, I still would have come. That afternoon, Keegan went down to the cafeteria to get food. Only Laura and I were left in the room. She looked at me for a long time. Long enough that I started to feel a little awkward. Is something wrong? She smiled. You're exactly like what Keegan described. I was surprised. He talks about me? A lot. My heart gave a small flutter. Are you serious? Laura laughed. Every time we video call, he always brings up this very annoying coach. I laughed. That's definitely Keegan. He says, Tate's always making me eat on time, making me sleep early, making me train extra. So annoying. She paused. But every time he tells the story, he's smiling. I stayed quiet. Laura looked out the window. Since his parents' divorce, that's the first time I've seen him talk about someone that much. A warm feeling spread through my chest. Maybe I mattered to Keegan just as much as he mattered to me. Right then, Laura suddenly asked, Tate. Yes. You like my son, don't you? I froze. Every thought in my head went blank. I didn't know how to answer. Deny it, or be honest. Laura kept looking at me with such gentle eyes. No scrutiny, no judgment, just a mother's tenderness. I took a deep breath. Yes, I like Keegan. Maybe. I've liked him for a while. Laura smiled softly. She wasn't surprised at all. I thought so. I could tell from your eyes. I lowered my head. I'm sorry. Why are you sorry? Because I was afraid it would make things awkward for you. Laura shook her head. Tate, I don't care whether the person Keegan loves is a man or a woman. All I care about is whether that person makes him happy. She paused for a few seconds, then continued. For years, I've always been afraid he'd end up living alone. He's too good at hiding his feelings. If one day he truly opens his heart to someone, I'll be grateful to that person. I felt my eyes sting. I never imagined this conversation would happen, and even less did I imagine that the first person to know how I felt about Keegan would be his own mother. Right at that moment, the door to the room opened. Keegan walked in carrying 3 cups of coffee. He looked at me, then at his mother. Both of us fell silent at the same time. Keegan frowned. What are you two talking about? Laura and I looked at each other, then both burst out laughing. Neither of us answered, but I had a feeling that, from this moment on, my life and Keegan's were about to enter a whole new chapter.